The chance for more severe storms is why today is another WRAL weather alert day. Wind showers could roll into your neighborhood.
And as those storms roll through, we're tracking conditions in the WRAL Live Center. We'll show you who's seeing the worst weather right now.
Kids curfew? It's one of the many options on the table in Raleigh. City leaders answer questions after a wild weekend.
Governor Josh Stein signed the state budget into law today, along with many pay raises. When those will actually hit your bank account. Let's get started. Let's get into it here. The storm's bringing the rain we need. Raleigh Police Chief's idea of reducing youth crime and the state budget finally signed. We're going to talk about all of it. We want to hear from you. Give us your ideas, your feedback. It helps drive this newscast. 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. We love to hear from you. First up, an active night on the radar. We just found out about some severe thunderstorm warnings in Wake, Durham, and Lee counties. Our cameras of the DBAP showing the rain coming down right now. Kat, we needed the rain. We wanted it, and we're getting a bunch.
Some of us are getting a lot. Durham is one of those areas getting hit hard right now. This severe storm in parts of Durham, Orange, as well as Granville, Wake, and Chatham counties has had more than 200 strikes of lightning in just the past 15 minutes, bringing some healthy rainfall to parts of Jordan Lake, Falls Lake, tapping into that rainfall, as well as you head north along I-85 into Granville County. There's a separate severe thunderstorm warning also until 7:45. This is mainly for Lee County, drifting over into part of Harnett County as well. And those are the strongest storms on the map tonight. Still scattered. There's still areas in between that haven't seen the rain, but we're going to see more action like this tomorrow. So hopefully everybody can see some decent totals. A flash flood warning remains in effect for eastern Cumberland County as well as Sampson County. That area in yellow is where the radar is estimating some totals over 4 inches. The level 1 severe weather threat today is certainly verified. We had some reports of strong wind gusts in the area, localized flooding. I'll break down how tomorrow could play out coming up.
All right, thank you, Kat. Let's see what the rain's doing out on the roads. WRL's Eric Miller in the storm tracker in Durham County, tracking some conditions for us out there. Eric.
Dan, we're on 501 Roxborough Road right now, and we are looking square at the storm that Kat was just telling you about that's sitting right on top of Durham right now. You take a look out the front windshield, you can see the rain that we're seeing here on the north side of town is pretty light at the moment. It's been on and off for the better part of the last half hour. Very heavy at times, very light at others. This is causing some significant ponding and flash flooding in places. So if you are out on the roads right now, you do really want to pay attention. This is causing some big issues, including as you get north of town. There are some scattered power outages that have been knocking out traffic lights. Just a reminder, if you do come up on a traffic light, it is not lit. You're supposed to treat that as a 4-way stop. That helps keep you and everybody else on the road safe. In Durham, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
Good reminder, in the roads, certainly something we're watching tonight. We have Brian Schrader in the live center monitoring some traffic and other things. Brian.
I want to take you right into the heart of that storm right now with one of those live traffic cameras in Durham. This is 147 out at 15501, and just look at how hard the rain is coming down. See those trees blowing around with some gusty winds. Again, this is a thunderstorm that has triggered a severe thunderstorm warning, so you could see those gusty, damaging winds. This is the scene out on 147 just to the west of downtown Durham. And here's a live look right now at 85 at Broad Street there, just north of downtown. That rain coming down really hard. So in addition to the threat of damaging wind gusts, also dealing with those torrential downpours.
The actions of what we saw Saturday night was something I have never seen in my 26 years at the Raleigh Police Department. That is your quote of the day, courtesy Raleigh Police Chief Rico Boyce. The chief addressed a violent weekend in downtown Raleigh. With thousands, I should say, of teens running all over Glenwood South, leading to several shootings, 29 people getting arrested, a handful of juvenile petitions that were filed. Chief Boyce says more of those are coming. He also called for a teen curfew as a way to cut back on these giant gatherings. But he's got other ideas as well. WRL's Sean Gallagher heard the chief's pitch to cut back on youth crime.
Chief Boyce's message was put plainly. What he saw this weekend was unruly, undisciplined, and unsupervised. That's why he's pushing for 3 big changes to try and make an impact. Now, like we've reported, Boyce is pushing for that curfew for kids under 18, but they're also looking at bag restrictions within certain areas like a Glenwood South. He pointed to the 11 guns they recovered Saturday night as a reason for that, and also having programming specific to the youth to give them something to do so that they don't find themselves in trouble. But it's the curfew that garnered widespread support from the council, especially after hearing Boyce's firsthand experience Saturday night, the chief of police on the streets making arrests.
I'm a cop. I stepped in and engaged with that young man. He quickly realized it was the police. He took off running. I caught him, and guess what he had on him? He had a gun. He looked up at me and said, "Officer, don't shoot me." It's disturbing, these young adults and these juveniles, the behavior that we saw on Saturday.
Now, that curfew isn't as easy as just flipping a switch. It's why the city is working with the district attorney's office to craft language so that it won't be a civil rights issue moving forward. But they still have other options in their tool belt as well. Mayor Cowell says that she can put in an emergency curfew of sorts, similar to what we saw back in 2020 with the COVID restrictions and then also during the civil unrest. But we don't know any specific details about dates or times that they could occur. In downtown Raleigh, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
All right, thank you to Sean. Let's talk about some of the chief's other ideas. Here are a few of the others. Extra monitoring on social media to get ahead of the teen takeover events that we have been seeing. Talking with business owners, having more of a dialogue there, and putting some more staff in specific spots around the city on weekends. But the big headline is that curfew. The mayor says it will take at least a month just to get one drafted. But remember, a bunch of the people who were arrested over the weekend were not teens. They were young adults, we should say. They were over the age of 18, though. So what is the plan for them? Sean asked the chief about that part, too.
Seen from the data this past weekend, a lot of those being held accountable are adults. How is the curfew going to impact what we saw this weekend?
A curfew, what wasn't talked about downstairs, is we're going to protect everybody and make sure that our youth, they don't become a victim of crime. So that's the one purpose of a curfew, and that is the primary goal in us crafting a curfew here in Raleigh, is to protect those youth, to make sure that they're not in those environments where they can become harmed.
So just kind of sounds like the curfew can't stop the grown-ups from breaking the law, which is kind of common sense. But when they do, hopefully the kids aren't there to become part of it or get wrapped up in it. But those kids got to be somewhere, which is why the chief also talked about the need for youth programs. Brings us to a follow-up question that we received in the 7 p.m. inbox pertaining to this story. A viewer named Joy wants to know, what have other cities done in engaging teens in more activities? So they do all kinds of things. In Baltimore, for instance, the city launched a series of events in 2023, a summer camp, block parties, pool parties, even job programs. City leaders say it was a success. It cut the number of children hurt in shootings by 50%. In Philadelphia, they invested $3 million into youth sports, getting kids to play games together. Leaders wanted to surround kids with mentors and positive influences. They also have a trade program that teaches teenagers about carpentry and automotive skills. And Raleigh, we have this stuff too. Lots of things just like it. The chief and the other city leaders highlighted some programs that already exist here. We have Hoops Night. We have after-school programs, workforce development programs, a teen summer camp. The list goes on and on and on. It filled multiple slides of the presentation today. So we have the stuff for kids to do. The fact is, those kids chose to be there on Saturday night. Some went to cause trouble. Others went to see friends and have fun. Others were there because they were curious or they wanted to post about something on social media like that. We're talking about kids here. I mean, what are you really expecting to learn about their motivation to be at a party? It's why so many people are looking past the kids and on to the parents. Washington, D.C. is a prime example here. Parents there can actually face charges if their kids get involved in the chaos from one of these teen meetup events. We didn't hear any ideas like that come up today here in Raleigh, but many of you seem to support it. Robert said, "I agree that fines should be levied against the parents of the kids found guilty in participating in the chaos. Bruce says, I bet that if the parents faced responsibility for their underage teens' actions, they would be more active and responsible for managing their behavior. And Joseph wrote, remember that old PSA? It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Do you remember those old PSAs? Joseph wasn't the only one to bring those up. If you don't remember, or maybe you're just too young to have seen them, we found a few online.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
This all started back in the 1960s when cities across the United States started new curfew rules, essentially, after unrest and rioting in the streets and a rising crime rate. Any of that sound familiar to you? Look, I don't know if those PSAs made a difference. We couldn't find any data on that. It also wasn't really clear why they went away at some point. But since the mayor, the chief, the city of Raleigh, they're throwing out some ideas, maybe we try the PSA thing again. Couldn't hurt, right? It's 7 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Something tells me it's going to take more than that. Maybe you have some ideas. Look, between city rules, policing strategies, parental involvement, the rest, there's a lot to consider here. What do you think? Send us an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Tell us what's on your mind to keep this conversation going. We'll talk about it right here at 7 o'clock. The biggest budget in the state's history got the governor's signature. We told you about the raises for teachers and the tax relief for some. But this thing's more than 1,000 pages long. There's a bunch of stuff that got overlooked, including some big changes for the DMV. Coming up, we'll look at a new idea to speed up service and even send staff right to your home.
Welcome back to the WRAL Live Center. All new at 7 o'clock tonight. A really disturbing case out of Johnston County. An 8-month-old baby is in the hospital tonight, and a Smithfield woman is charged with abusing that baby. And I'll warn you that some of the details in the warrant are unsettling. This is Brooke Reiner, 26 years old, and according to Smithfield police in their warrants, they say that she slammed a child's head against a changing table, separating the hemispheres of that baby's brain, requiring emergency brain surgery. The warrant also says that Reiner struck the child in the face, head, and abdomen. The baby is in serious condition at Wake Med, according to Smithfield police. Reiner is charged with child abuse, inflicting serious injury, and also a charge of providing child care while unlicensed, resulting in serious injury. Her bail has been set at $5 million.
Boy, you weren't kidding. That's enough to make you nauseous. That is horrendous. Brian, we'll check back for more Live Center reports. Wow, tough to continue. That's a difficult story there. Let's talk about the budget, though. This is a big one that's impacting a lot of people. No more waiting for teachers and state employees. The governor has signed the state budget into law, promising pay bumps and tax relief. It ends a standoff among lawmakers that lasted more than a year. To get a better sense of really what it all means now, I talked to WRAL state government reporter Paul Spey. All right, Paul, before we get to the big picture stuff, I do want to mention something, or have you describe this thing that the governor was talking about today with the DMV.
Right. Buried in this 600-page document for spending throughout North Carolina is something that does away with registration cards for your car. You know, every year you get your car inspected and re-registered, and they send you this card in the mail, and it says, hey, you got to show this to the cops if you ever pulled over. And then it comes with a sticker that every year is a different color. You have to put it on your license plate. They're doing away with that. They say it's to improve the efficiency of the DMV, where we've reported long wait lines, things like that. So this is an attempt to make that a little easier.
You still have to register. You still have to pay those taxes.
Right. Still have to get your car inspected, all of that. But it'll be online. The cops will have something that they can look at digitally that will tell them whether or not you're registered.
There was also another little asterisk in Forsyth County. I kind of was like, what? So the DMV's doing house calls now in Forsyth?
There's a pilot program too, and it's only in Forsyth County. That's where Winston-Salem is. And they are supposed to start a program where they go to your house to help you renew your driver's license, not your registration like we talked about, your actual license. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out, but they've tried things in the past that they ultimately expanded throughout the state. So that'll be something to keep an eye on in the next year or two. Like, how does this work out in Winston-Salem?
All right. Yeah, that is interesting. Let's talk about raises. People finally getting those raises.
Right. So in every state government employee, and there's about over 200,000 of them, will get a 3% raise. Teachers will get an average of 8%. And then law enforcement officers, they could get somewhere between 10% and 17%, depending on the job they hold. So, if you have someone in your family, that works for the state government, they could get raises of anywhere between 3 and 17%.
Be significant for a lot of families. So that's the money coming in. What about the money going out? Let's talk taxes.
Right. So this year, the tax rate is 3.99. In year 2027, it'll go down to about 3.5%. So you'll pay a half a percentage less for 2027 than you will this year. So say you're making $100,000 in 2027, you'll pay about $500 less. If you're making $50K, you'll pay about $250 less.
One of the craziest things about all of it is that because this was delayed for so long, it's almost time for them to start thinking about the next budget.
That's right. A lot of people may not know that they're supposed to do this in odd years. So the last time they passed a comprehensive state budget was in 2023. We expected another one in 2025. That didn't happen because Senate Leader Phil Berger and House Speaker Destin Hall were disagreeing on various things. It got pushed to this year, so we now have a one-year plan. You can get ready because we're going to do all this again next year in 2027.
Fun. Thank you, Paul. All right, let's bring in Kat Campbell because we do have the rain. That's good, but we have some flooding going along with it, some other things that are not good.
When you've got dry ground like this, it's tough for everything to be absorbed by the soil because it is just so dry. So flash flooding is a concern, and flooding in particular. Durham already seeing some reports of that. Eric Miller in the WRAL Storm Tracker has reported some flooded roads around Durham as well, and there is now a flood advisory there. Live look at RDU. They've had showers and storms rolling through. We just saw some lightning around Raleigh a short time ago, and I was watching that storm as it arrived. There was a lot of lightning. There continues to be across Durham all the way up into Granville County. This severe thunderstorm warning and this one for Sanford both expire in about 25 minutes at 7:45. The main threat, damaging wind gusts, but localized flooding and frequent lightning are also concerns within these storms. They're moving at just 10 miles per hour to the east, so crawling east. The good news here is that you are able to get some pretty hefty rainfall when storms are moving that slow over places like Falls Lake, where we desperately need it, Durham as well, and it's continuing to move east into North Raleigh and eventually should make its way toward Wake Forest. Sanford, that storm's looking a lot weaker, to be honest with you. I don't think it'll hold together well. Here's the new flood advisory, including Durham, the western part of Wake County. Morrisville and Cary are included in the flood advisory. And there is also a flash flood warning still for parts of Cumberland and Sampson counties until 8:45. Here's the setup. We have a lot of moisture. You could just wring it out of the atmosphere. You probably felt it when you stepped outside this morning, right? It was so humid out. And with all of this moisture being fed in from the Gulf by the upper level winds, you have that plus a front that's barely moving, and the two are coming together to bring these slow-moving storms to the area that are able to dump a lot of heavy rain. Because it's so hot, we have energy for those storms to become severe. It's not going to be all that different tomorrow, so let's look ahead here on Futurecast. We still have some storms out there, 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Things should begin to quiet down for us as we get closer to midnight. Quiet Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. Some scattered storms pop up. I do think we'll have greater storm coverage, though, after dinner time tomorrow night. And then Thursday, storm chances should become more isolated. We'll see a little less action on the radar each day over the next few days, but still some storms likely to pop up. Saturday and Sunday, more scattered storms in the forecast. So we're headed in a better direction in terms of the drought, but none of those days are going to be a big widespread area of rain that benefits everyone. We're talking summertime storms each day, and that comes with hot and humid weather. The humidity not budging much over the next week. If you're headed to the pool to stay cool tomorrow, it's already 88 by lunchtime, low to mid 90s during the afternoon with just a couple of afternoon storms, better chances in the evening. Thursday, 96, Friday, 98 degrees, Saturday and Sunday still steamy out. But check this out, we've got 80s back on our 7-day forecast. Not quite any triple digits, really close Friday, but at least some 80s and the long range to look forward to. Still pretty humid those days, but hey, it's a step in the right direction.
A high in the 80s, thank goodness. All right, thank you, Kat. Another town on the Carolina coast is about to get pretty sweet. Ritz Donuts is opening a new location, and it's your one last thing after the break. One last thing tonight, one of the most popular spots on the coast is expanding. If you've ever been to Carolina Beach, you've probably stopped at Britt's Donut Shop. The business has been open since 1939, a fan favorite for nearly 90 years. The owner is saying they're preparing to open a second location in the fall in Charleston, South Carolina. Britt's longtime owner died last fall. His family kept the business going and says the expansion doesn't change that Britt's will always consider North Carolina and Carolina Beach home. Hey, some quick feedback from some of you watching tonight. It continues to be a hot topic, the teen takeovers. MK wrote about the PSA, said, who doesn't know where their kid is at 10 p.m.? All kids have cell phones, and you can track their location. No excuses, right? Which is a good point. Yes, and I know a lot of parents do that. I do say, look, we're waiting to see how police and the city will respond to this latest event. Let's wait to see how parents respond as well. It was the 4th of July weekend. There are parents who did not know that their kids were going to an event like this. You know how kids are. I don't think that everyone is being completely honest with mom and dad. Let's see how this moves forward. This is why we are having this conversation. And trust me, you have to believe that some parents are having this conversation in their house with their kids as well. Keep those emails coming. Push, send it to 7 p.m. at WRAL.